Hello everyone, I'm Natsumoki and this is my Palworld tier list. But this tier list isn't like the other tier list videos. For example, I am making a tier list for new players. Now this is going to be the honest to God opinion about what pals are actually good for new players. And if you're an old player or experienced player and you know some stuff, you might learn something new. So still watch this video to get my opinion on it and let me know if you agree or disagree. So let's start off. Ignore all of these pals. This is level 30 plus. This video is based for level 1 through 20. Okay? So, let's begin. Let's start with the tried and true, the beginning 3. So, starting off with Lamball. This guy's D tier. Now, why is he D tier? Number 1, he sucks at combat. He does this little ball move where he's rolling towards people and he stuns himself. He doesn't provide any utility in combat. And for a base pal, he only does handiworking and transporting, which is not phenomenal. Ooh, sorry, had a burp. Now, Catnivia is S tier. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why? This guy sucks in combat. Yes, but he's phenomenal to get in early game. And here's why. His passive skill allows you to carry more weight. So you can put your early game levels into stamina, which I promise you will thank me for, because in the early game, stamina is such a pain. You use it in everything, in running, fighting, literally just going around the world. It's such a pain. So I always want to invest my early levels into stamina, so that way the game is just smoother and easier, and I don't have to put my levels into weight, so that way I can hold what little gear I can. So getting a team full of these guys in the early game, I actually highly recommend. Like, dude, if you want to carry like 5, 6 of these, bro, do it. It's so useful. Obviously, this is not for if you're level 20. If you're level 20 and you're still rocking a team with these guys, you are purely farming. Now, Z tier. Z tier is the chicken. Now, here's why the chicken is Z tier. You use him for breeding. And why? Because you need eggs, and he is the only pal in the entire game to get eggs from. You need the ranch, and this guy, I really recommend farming him until you get a good work buff, because you're going to be using him for the entire game. This guy is going to be permanently living in your base. Workaholic is fine. Artisan is the best because of the work speed. That's my personal favorite, and that's why he is Z tier. You will always use him. Now, Lift Monk is B tier. Lift Monk's POW gear lets you get like a little submachine gun, but to use it, it's such an inconvenience. Plus, it's expensive. Plus, it doesn't really do anything. He's a okay early game base POW because he does planting and harvesting along with lumber. So really, if you have a very early base, he's good for that. He doesn't fight back in the world, so he's pretty easy to catch. He is an inconvenience because he just runs away from you, but he's okay. He's not phenomenal. He's not bad. He's just okay. Now, same thing for Fox Sparks. Nothing special here. You can just catch him for like the early kindling for the little bit of ore you're going to make, so you can make ingots to get started on some of the advanced stuff, but nothing phenomenal here. His POW gear, you can hold him as like a little flamethrower. Honestly, you really lack mobility when you use this, and you have to be so close to other pals, it's not worth it. Plus, in the early game, you want to catch as many pals as you can. Fire types are not your friend in the early game. Despite what all the tier lists say that fire pals are the best, these guys are not your friends when you want to farm and grow, because every element has a status effect that they put on somebody once they do enough damage. Like grass, you'll see that little green vine binds them and they can't really move too well, and fire obviously sets them on fire. Well, it's going to be harder to catch pals if they're burning to death and you can't control that source of damage, especially if you have a mercy ring or mercy hit. That allows you to leave a pal at 1 HP. The burning effect does not apply. That is a different instance of damage and will kill them. So he's only used for base kindling. Now, Fok, my favorite pal, is B tier. Now, here's why. Not a good fighter, but you can use him for a little bit of watering. He does transporting and crafting, so he's actually pretty handy to have at the base. He's just a solid water pal you can put there. You could put Pingullet in the same category. These guys just do the exact same thing. They water, they craft, they transport, so they're just solid B tier. Spark It, D tier. Now, why is he D tier? This guy's a Pikachu wannabe, and that's exactly what he wants to be. He wants to be somebody, but he's not. He doesn't do anything for your base. He does crafting and transporting, but why use him when you can use a Water Pal or Lift Monk and do the exact same thing that this guy wants to do? And these guys can do other things. He does generate electricity, but it's so low level that if this is the guy you're using for your electricity at that point, it's just pointless. It's sad. Now, Tansy is A tier. Why is he above Lift Monk? Well, that's because he does the planting and the harvesting, but he also does lumber. But the most important thing is he does transporting. Now, the transporting is important because everything that he's doing, he's helping put it somewhere. He's putting berries in the feeding little thing. He's putting the wood away. He's just putting everything where it needs to go. Tansy doesn't do that. Tansy does medicine. And you're not going to need medicine in the early game. Honestly, you don't even need it for late game unless you really just like your pals and you just struggle with having pals. So medicine is kind of pointless, so that's why Tansy is a higher rank than Lift Monk. Ruby is the exact same thing as Fox Sparks, just for the kindling. Not really phenomenal, not really a great fighter. Don't use this in combat. Now, Joltog, same thing as Spark It. You do electricity and that's it. He's actually worse than Spark It because that's all he does. Now, I think this is Spark It Crisp. This is not useful because he's such an inconvenience to get. He's actually not in the world where you can catch him. You have to buy him exclusively from merchants, and he does nothing. He's not worth it. The only time you ever buy this guy is just for the XP. That's it. Pin King. Pin King is Z tier. Now, why is he Z tier? He does the watering, but level 2. He does cooling, but you're not really going to use that early game. But he does mining level 2, and he does crafting and transporting. So he does everything these guys want to do, but he does it better. But the real reason he's Z tier is because his breeding capabilities. Dude, this guy breeds into every good pal. I don't know why, but he's in everything. Like, if you want Anubis, he's there. You want Kitsune, he's there. You want Astagon, he's there. Like, this guy is in all the high tier pals. I don't know why. He just is. He's just that guy. He's just the captain of the ship. Now, Gummoss, D tier. Terrible fighter. Terrible excuse for a pal. I love him. He's adorable. I always get his little hat. But he does nothing for the base. He only does harvesting, which sucks. Now, Vixie. Vixie is S tier. Now, Vixie's S tier because in the early game, getting Pal Spheres for free is so good. Now, this helps because you're saving the Paldean fragments, the little blue pieces. Now, that is useful because you're going to need so much of that down the line. Everything is going to start taking the Paldean fragments, so saving up as much as you can and farming as much as you can, dude, you will be blessing me when you find out how useful this is. He helps you get arrows as well, so he's also going to help you farm, and he gets you bones, which you're going to use for cement, which becomes into a lot of higher tier crafting things later on. Honestly, I recommend getting the chicken and getting about 3 of these and just throwing them into a ranch at your base and just AFK, leave your game on overnight if you're playing single player, and just come back to like literally God knows how many Pal Spheres, dude. Like, this guy is just such a unit. Like, they prep you for late game so hard. Hookrates sucks. There's no point. They don't excel at combat. They don't do anything for the base. If you're using this guy, you just like little owls. T-Font, useless. Does watering level 1. Why use that when you can get a Pingola or a Fock? Depresso. Depresso is C because he does the exact same thing that Ketnivia does, but worse. He's just not good. I mean, he's funny, but he's just bad. Grimace. This is C tier. The reason that I say this is C tier is because he can get wool at the ranch as well, but you're not going to need wool early on that much. You will need wool later on, and obviously you can buy it, you can butcher the pals, things like that. But, I mean, it's an option. It's not a great option. That's why he's C tier. Daydream is B tier. Now, Daydream's in kind of a weird spot. That's why I feel like they're good for B tier, because this is probably one of the best early game pals you can get for combat, but that's it. They don't do anything for the base. They don't do anything otherwise. You can just get them for combat. But you got to be careful with this guy, because you can get his POW gear, which lets him fight beside you. And while that is useful, a lot of the times he's going to end up killing the pals that you're trying to catch for that early game XP. A lot of times he's just going to just obliterate them. I mean, he's great for support, especially if you're struggling, but he's not going to be very helpful for XP climbing. Now, Rush Boar, D tier. All he does is farming, and combat-wise, he's got this stupid charge attack, which basically means he's useless for 15 solid seconds, especially if he missed. Nox. This is C tier. Actually, we're going to put him in A tier. He's not good at combat. He's not good on the base, but he has very, very powerful breeding combinations. I'm actually pretty sure it's Nox and Pain King. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but I think that's Anubis, which is the best handy-working pal in the game automatically. So, like, you find him, you get Pain King, you got an Anubis. Fuddler is D tier. This guy is the exact same thing as Catnivia, but does it worse. He can do mining, he can do transporting, he can do crafting, but why do that when you can just use Catnivia? This guy's PAL ability as well, he just helps detect ore, and I guess if you're just absolutely brand spanking new and don't know what a rock is, that's the only time this guy's useful. You don't know what rocks are. Calamari, this guy's actually B tier. I actually use this guy in my higher, like, mid-level bases because he has transporting level 2. You can make him for a glider, but really you just want him at your base for the transporting level 2. It's pretty helpful to just get stuff to where it needs to go. He can clutter up your chest, but, I mean, honestly, I don't organize my chest anyway because pals are always throwing stuff in there. It's very hectic, but it is what it is. Mao. Mao's a good C tier. You can find them in dungeons, caves. They're not really used for fighting. They can be, but not really. The reason he's C tier and not D tier, though, is because you can assign him to the ranch and get gold with him. And you can use gold later on for better pals, buying wool, buying the mercy ring, which I know I keep talking about the mercy ring, but if you don't have it, buy it. It's helpful. Yeah, you can just get gold. I mean, it's an option if you want to play it like that. I'm just not a fan. Celeray. Celeray is A tier. Now, why is Celeray A tier? They don't do anything for the base. They don't do anything for combat. But again, it's the breeding capabilities. This guy, for some reason, he is just like Pinking. He's in every breeding thing. Like, I don't know why. He just is. Dire Howl. This pal is bait. The description is he's the fastest land mount in the game. Now, that is true in a straight line. But the world is not a straight line. You're going to climb, you're going to be going up hills, yada, yada, yada. He's not the best pal for that. He's just not. He's very cheap and very easy to get. You can use air shot on top of him as well to, like, help you farm pals. He's pretty low level. So he's okay, but don't fall for the PAL gear. Don't invest, like, getting this guy in the PAL condenser and just making as many of them as you can. Don't waste your time. He's not worth it. He's genuinely not. For the base, he does nothing as well, so no point in using that. Toko. This guy's C tier. Now, why is this guy C tier? His PAL gear is an egg rocket launcher. It's okay. It's not phenomenal. It's just okay. At the base, he doesn't do anything, but the reason this guy is C tier is because killing him matters. Not catching him, killing him. Now, he drops gunpowder whenever you kill him, and dude, you are going to use gunpowder so much. Killing these guys every chance you get is just so helpful. It's just taking life easy. Honestly, you can stop to kill him if you want to. You don't have to. Whenever I see him, though, I just go ahead and wipe him out because it's just nice. Floppy is B tier. Now, this guy is B tier because you have to be like level 20, level 20 plus to get him. He does okay with the farming stuff, but his PAL gear is useless. All he does is run around and pick up items that are near you, but honestly, that's just lazy, and it just clutters up your inventory. Plus, he can pick up a lot of stuff that can make you overweight, which will make it harder for you to move around, so he can honestly just be an inconvenience. Now, the cow. This is Z tier for obvious reasons. This is the only pal in the game that's going to give you milk. He's going to always be at your base no matter what level you are. This guy will always be there. He's just with the chicken. You know, like, these guys, you need them. Don't use them in combat. This guy, a little thorn bushy. Not really the best, not really the worst, not really used at all, ever. Honestly, thrown her in D tier. I don't even remember her name. That's how useless she is. If I don't remember the name for a pal, that's how just, there's no point. Gobfin. Gobfin is C tier. Gobfin boosts a player's attack in this game, right? By just being in your party. Simply being there, he makes you stronger. But not that much stronger. It's honest to God not worth it. Now, a lot of people do player-only runs, and that's when this pal really shines. That's when this guy's your best friend. But as a new player, you're probably not doing a player-only run, so he's just not worth it. He's a hassle. He does like a little bit of watering, and again, you can just get a pinglet or a fox to just do his job, but better, cheaper, and easier. This guy, don't remember his name. Useless. He does do transporting level 2. I know that, but you can just do Killamari. He's just easier to access. Now, we're starting to get into more of the bigger pals. This is for like level 20s. Mossanda. Mossanda Lux. This is for like level 30. I actually don't know why he's here, but we're going to put him here. These guys deserve their own tier of just flat out useless. Now, here's why. At the base, they're decent. They get stuck a lot. But here's the problem. These pals are made for combat, but they're not good at it because for some reason they're made out of rubber. You wouldn't think it. These big old bears just to be bouncy balls. You wouldn't. It just baffles me. It baffles me. Like, I can't comprehend it of like, why can any pal hit this guy and he just for some reason flies to the moon? I don't understand it, but you can just whack this guy and he just goes flying 500 feet away. Sometimes they just die because they get stuck on something from getting hit. So they are just useless. They really need to fix this character model. I don't know why. Useless. This thing is not used for combat. It's not used for the farm. It gives you cotton candy, but that feeds you so little, it's pointless. Bush goat. Bushy goat. Also useless. You don't use them for combat. You don't use them for anything like that. They give you berries when assigned to the ranch. But again, your ranch is going to be busy, filled with pallets that actually do something. This guy, there's no point in running this. Melpaka. C tier. Again, this guy can get you wool if assigned to the base. Not a good fighter. Not a good riding mount. There's just no point for this. The deer. The deer is B tier. Both forms. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why is he B tier? He's actually decent, like levels 1 through 15. He's a decent fighter. He's a little scary to fight in the early game until you get a crossbow. But his reasoning for B tier, not for his mount, don't bother, don't make it, is just the fact that he has lumbering level 2. And if you're trying to build some stuff early on, having wood is just helpful. So catching one of these guys is just helpful. It's nice to get. Honestly, we're going to throw this one in D tier because you can only get him at like the Sanctuary Islands. And it's not very consistent. It's not very helpful. It's just inconvenient to get to. You really only get this guy for the XP. He doesn't breed into anything for value. So you can honestly just ignore him unless you just want the XP. Nightwing is A tier. Now, this guy is A tier because he's one of the earliest flying mounts you can get. I actually think he is the earliest. I'd have to double check. But he flies. That's why he's A tier. He's not good for the base. He's okay at combat. But just having the mobility to be able to fly and traverse the world is just so helpful. Fun fact. Actually, 2 fun facts for you. This guy's stamina bar does not deplete over water, so you can go to any island, any sanctuary that you want to over water with this pal because he will not drown. So that's pretty cool. Another cool thing you can do over the water is you could do his little tornado dash attack and stagger out your stamina bar because your stamina actually goes up while he's doing his whole animation. Second fun fact, You can save stamina with this pal by going only in one direction. Do not do two. For example, you can fly directly up, no other input, just straight up, and you're going to save more stamina that way. Same thing with just going forward. Just go forward. It's very linear, and that's how you just use his stamina. It's I don't know why it's designed that way, but it is. Rib Bunny doesn't really do anything. Does crafting and transporting. She can help with like the weapons workbench, but if you have a weapons workbench, you should not have a Rib Bunny in your party. Now, Incineram is S tier. This guy doesn't do too much for your base. I think he has level 2 mining. I think he has kindling level 1. I can't remember. But he's just phenomenal at combat. He's not very helpful for like if you're trying to just grind up some XP. But if you get one with a really good passive buff, like Demon God or something, keep him. Because this guy will obliterate grass type pals for you. He's just so good. This guy I do recommend. Butterfly, useless. There's no point. Ram. I'm sorry, I don't remember his actual full name. I think it's like Oslox or something. He's got kindling level 2, so he is obviously better than these guys. But that's really all he does, along with like lumbering. There's no point in like making his mount. You can just throw him at the base for just a little bit faster, like ore and ingots. That's really it. Dumud is B tier. He's got level 2 mining. He's not really useful in combat, but he could do something that's very unique. You can assign him to the ranch and get Pal Oil. Now, the reason that this oil is important is you use it in a lot of important things later on, like the musket and polymer. But you're not going to be needing that till much, much later, so that's why he's not higher on this list. That's why he's just B tier. He's just B. Cognito doesn't really do anything. Very inconvenient to get, very threatening, especially if you're newer to the game. He tries to kill you, so it's very inconvenient. Doesn't really do anything for the base, just bad. Lispunk doesn't do anything. Their PAL skill is they detect dungeons, but you can see that from the giant hole in the dungeon wall. Very useless unless you're just absolutely brand spanking new to the game and you don't know where anything is. But honestly, to sit there and keep walking around and smashing the button to use his ability is just worse than if you were to just look around with your eyeballs. Loop Moon. Not the best, not the worst. A better fighter than Cognito, but inconvenient to get and doesn't do anything for the base. Doesn't do anything but crafting level 2. So just not fun. Just inconvenient. Galeclaw. This guy's S tier. I would put him in Z tier because a lot of like higher level people use him because you can do the sliding glide trick with him, and he is the fastest glider in the game. But he's just, I feel like he's a waste. I feel like the gliding trick is a waste because he doesn't do anything combat wise, and he just kind of takes up an extra spot on your team. Doesn't do anything for your base. I mean, if you got the free spot on your team for him, yeah, go ahead, put him there. But like, just Robin Quill, B tier. Not phenomenal in combat, not phenomenal in the base, but just solid in the middle. The Gorilla. The Gorilla is actually a really good and high-powered stat machine, but that's all they're for. They are just used for combat. B-Guard, Z tier. And why? Because you're always going to have one at your base to make cake. Because they get honey at the ranch, and that's all you use them for. You don't use them for combat because they know the move Implode, and they will literally implode, and it's just an inconvenience. Elizabeth. Elizabeth is kind of awkward because the more like B guards you have in your team, the better she gets. So if you want to make a B team, if you just want to be that B, that's really it. Nothing to value other than that. Grintel. This pal is bait. There's no point. Its passive skill is its eyes light up whenever somebody comes near the base, but like you can just see their health bar. There's no point for that. Terrible mount. Terrible pal. Sweeze. Now, the Sweeze, a lot of people are going to get angry at this tier placement. And the reason being is because these guys can become the best team in the game. you can get a Sweepa and the Swee and just power condense them, make them max tier, and they become absolute deities. But here's the thing. If you're playing for early game, the amount of effort and resources and stuff you're trying to get one with good IVs, to get one with good passive skills, to get enough of them to condense them to the point where they're actually a usable competitive team, it's just so much time investment that it's just not good. Like, you don't get anything from this other than, okay, cool, I got an ice team. Man, I sure hope I don't run into one of the many high-level fire type pals that are out there that just shred me and I can't use these guys. Chill it. A lot of people actually overestimate this pal based on his combat ability. They put him up very high on their tier list, but honestly, I think that's just because he's the mascot. His combat is okay. Really, it's for his typing, the Ice Dragon. It's good typing. The mount is useless. He's so slow. He's so inconvenient. Not good. This guy, I don't remember his name because I really just use him as a battery pack whenever I actually start getting to electricity. Has level 2 electricity generation and some lumbering, so this is something you can use, but you should not be using this guy for electricity generation because you should be using Grizzbolt. Grizzbolt is the best base pal. Now, not in the game, but for early game, absolutely. He does lumbering, he does transporting, he does electricity generation. This guy does all of that at like level 2, level 3s, and he is an inconvenience to get because he's at the Sanctuary exclusively, but he's pretty good, you know? He's good at combat as well. I feel like he's also really friendly to beginners because he does have that electric typing, and you can get the status effect of stunning pals, which actually helps you catch them a lot more. So that is pretty good. He would be Z tier if his POW gear was more accessible. He will get a minigun in the future, but you got to be like level 50 to get that. I don't know why they put it so high or why they made him such a threat if like you get him so early, but like that's that's something you can do. Dying Awesome is not awesome. They do lumbering and planting, and that's it. You can use them for combat, but honestly, just not worth it. Surf It, not a fan. Just basic watering, not good at combat, just bad. Dig Tortoise is S tier. Now this guy has level 3 mining. If you are farming ore, stone, anything, I don't care what it is, this guy is your best friend. He's a Bowser ripoff wannabe, but let me tell you something. This guy mines so hardcore, it is amazing. You're never going to use them in combat, even though they can be used for combat, because they're actually not bad at it, but you just want them at your base to be constantly farming because they're just so good at it. Like, dude, I've beat the game, and I have, like, the best mining pals in the game, and I swear that this guy's better. Tombat. This guy is C tier. Now, this guy's POW gear, not POW gear, his passive ability is you can scan to see nearby pals, but like, again, if you're using your eyes, there's no point to even waste your time to press the button. He does have mining level 2, so it's something you can use early on when you can't get to the Dig Tortoise. So there's that, but really a lot of them have like bad worker buffs. I don't know why, but their sanity drains like crazy, so he just becomes inconvenient. His combat is like on a 1 to 10 scale, his combat's like a 5. It's just okay. Lovander. Now this pal is not really one you get early on. You can get him at like level 20, but like you really got to go after this pal. Like you are targeting this pal specifically. A tier because they do crafting, they do transporting, but because of lifesteal. That is the real reason. Lifesteal is actually very helpful, especially if you're newer to the game and you don't know a lot of the like POW attacks and how they like do the AoE effect. They're just very nice to have. Plus, Raw, next question. Flambella. Believe it or not, Flambella is B tier. Actually, A tier. And the reason why is because they do kindling and they do a little bit of transporting, so they're automatically better than Foxparts and Ruby because they do something else other than just one job. So whenever that job's done, they can go do something else. But the real reason they are high on this list is because when they are assigned to the ranch, I know, I love the ranch. you can get flame orbs, and that's just farmable. You can just put them over there and they can get flame orbs. You can use them for fire arrows. You can use them for high tier farming stuff like furnaces. But the real reason is for the PAL technology stuff that you can use to like upgrade your base for like higher levels of kindling, which you're gonna want, so that way you can get your ingots faster, and like it's just so good. That's an option. Van Worm, really C tier, decent fighter, but not a good mount. Nothing for your base either, just decent. Bushi, I love this guy. This guy has good kindling, got good lumber, can craft, can transport. He's kind of a one man for all, but really where he shines is combat. Dude, that feeling you get when a Bushi teleports on somebody and you can watch them freak out is the best. I love using him in PvP, bro. I love the fact that this man will just appear beside you and just scare you. Like, dude, like Five Nights at Freddy Foxy Roar XD jump scare scene insert here. Okay, we're gonna move on. Catris, inconvenient. Now, the reason why I say she's inconvenient is she only spawns at night in a certain area, and she's just not worth farming. There is a boss fight you can go do for her, but really she's not worth it. She's not good at combat. She's not good at the base. She's just there. I mean, really, if you get her, you just want to put a skin on her, and you're a furry. I'm not. Yeah, ignore those. Wixen. This guy, I'm actually putting him in A tier. The reason being, he has level 3 handiwork. He's good at kindling. He's good in combat. Like, this guy's actually phenomenal at combat. Actually, we're putting him S. He's good at combat. I love this guy. Like, this guy is like my go-to handiwork craftsman. Like, I always keep one on me. That way I can craft stuff faster. Valet is obviously S tier. Now, this is for like the level 20, level 30 range. He's good for the bases. He's good for farming, planting, yada, yada, yada. This guy. Inconvenient. Only at the Palace Sanctuary or a boss fight. Not even going to mention his name because he doesn't get a name. He's not good at combat, not good for the base. Don't make them mount. This guy sucks. Kelpsy is D. They don't do any good watering. The only thing that this pal is good for is... Actually, wait. I forgot. You can put him on the ranch and get pal fluids, which you can use like Flambella. So that's really all he gets. Kelpsy Ingus. You could do the same thing as the other as the Flambella, but like ill. This guy, I just call him Water Schnook. Water Schnook is great because you have level 3 watering and dragon typing. Now, he can be used for combat, he can be used to transport water, but really just use a flying mount for that. If you use a water mount, you're insane. This guy is just the go-to for watering. He's great for the base, and just throw him there. Relaxosaurus, he's the icon of the game, but he sucks. You can't use him in combat because he also has kind of a rubbery model, so if he gets hit, he's going to Narnia. Doesn't really do anything for the base. And the PAL gear, you're not getting until you're extremely high level. Bon Cherry, C tier. The only reason this guy gets C tier is because he's not good for combat, but he can tank. He just has a massive health bar. That's all he's used for. Just a massive health bar. That's it. Pentella, the Flower Princess, fantastic at keeping the base alive. Like, honestly, this guy gets a Z tier mention because this guy is just mwah. You want your base alive? This guy. King Paka is B tier. King Paka is awesome character design. I love this guy. But he doesn't really do anything. He doesn't do anything for the base. He doesn't really do that much in combat. The only reason he's getting B tier is because, again, he's a tank just like Bon Cherry, but he also does like the weight thing that Catnivia does, helps you carry more stuff. So that's why he's getting B tier. Warsect. Warsect is A tier. He doesn't do anything for your base, but he will increase your defense passively by just being in your party. So that's why he gets an A tier mention. He's kind of inconvenient to get because you got to go beat a boss for him, but he's there. I'm ignoring you for now. Felbat. Felbat is kind of in the same situation. He doesn't really do too much for your base, but you can get lifesteal. He's kind of like Lovander, but just a pain to get. Actually, I think Lovander's better. This little dragon, useless. This guy sucks. Terrible mount, terrible stats. Just inconvenient to get to because you can only go and do him at a boss until you get to other islands where he's just incredibly high level and you can't do anything with him. Lylene. Same thing as Patilla. But you can also heal yourself, so same thing. Crocojo. This guy is literally the same as these two, just watery, transporting, crafting, just the basic. This guy, useless. This guy's not even going to get a name. He's just Sand Ostrich. You just go faster on sand, which, believe it or not, is not that big a deal. You can just use anything else. This guy, also D tier. Now, he is an alien. I'm not even going to mention his name because the only time you can get him is during an event when a meteor drops. And honestly, the meteor event is just not worth it. I mean, you can go farm it, get the meteor launcher, but to make the stuff for it is just so bad. It's so inconsistent. It's so RNG based that it's not worth it. Little chest guy. Little chest guy does nothing for combat. He does nothing for your base. He does nothing in your party because you can just make a lockpick. His passive skill lets you open up chests that are higher levels. But really, if you see this guy, just kill him for the coins. Honestly. Now, what you've all been waiting for. What we have been waiting for since the very beginning. Hold on, we gotta like dedicate everything to this guy. Fingerlope. Now, why is this guy above everybody else? Honestly, he's above all these guys too. Like, I will argue with you that he's better than the legendaries. I will. Fingerlope. Why is he so good? The mobility itself is just, it's beautiful. Because he's just as fast as Direhow in a straight line, but you have that phenomenal double jump, which is so good. You can get to anywhere you want to. If a flying mount can get there, so can he. His stats are fantastic. Like, dude, I'm level 60. I've beat the game, and I use this guy as my main fighter half the time. Because, dude, he's so good. You can teach him all the best moves. He's a neutral type pal, so he doesn't have really many weaknesses except for dark types. But even then, if you're on this guy and you're just running around, you can ignore that half the time. Like, dude, I cannot stress enough how phenomenal this guy is. Especially if you want to like go farm up a bunch of these little level pals, you can just run into them, boop them with the mercy ring, and just put them at 1 HP. Don't even gotta attack them. You can ignore them, farm them up like that. This guy, I always get the best passive skills. I always get the best IVs. I like literally every time I go into a world, the first thing in my mind is how can I get the perfect genetically modified Fingerlope. Like, this guy is the best. This, like, dude, if somebody drew me naked on top of Fingerlope, I'm marrying you on the spot. Like, this guy he's everything. He's just I can't fathom. I'm busting to a goat. That's not a goat, that's a deer. That's not a goat, that's an antelope. Oh my god, please. Okay, well, that concludes my PAL tier list for level 1 through 20. Well, honestly, it was kind of like level 1 through 30. But I will put out another tier list about all these other PALs if this tier list gets a good response. Or if somebody asks me to. Honestly, if anybody asks me to, I'll do it just because I got nothing else to do. But, here it is. I feel like this is pretty good. Yeah, take a screenshot of that, send it to your friends. Do not use this website. Palworld GG tier list, this is bait. A lot of these you will not be able to access. Don't use that. And what I mean by non-accessible, I mean don't fall for the bait of, oh, these guys are the best on the combat tier, so clearly I need to run these guys always in every fight. No. Elements matter. Believe it or not, in this game, elements are huge. They make a big difference. So if you bring a bunch of, let's say, I don't know, Shadow Beaks to a Dragon Raid boss, you're going to get smashed. You're going to get destroyed. And it doesn't matter that he's S tier. He will be absolutely obliterated. Like, the same thing applies for any other types. So try to invest and think about like what kind of battles you want to go for. A lot of the tower bosses aren't really threatening until you get to like the 4th one, so you don't really need to be like formulating a team comp like that. Just focus on getting pals for your base. That'll just make basic farming better. That'll just make basic life overall better. When you really want to get down to the combat pals is like level 50, and then you can just start condensing them and go absolutely crazy. But that concludes my tier list. I'll go further in depth later, but thank you for watching. I appreciate the time that you spent. And hey, any questions, comment, and I will do my best to answer them as quickly as I can. Bye, everybody. Have a good day.